Welcome back to In the Spotlight. I'm Shirley Lin. Today my guest is Xuan Liu, Xuan, who is, here I go again, a writer, a DJ, a program host, a radio program host at that, and a public speaker, and a father of 2 kids. So we were talking earlier about him, having a big change in his life at the age of 5, and then eventually at the age of 8 when he went to the States as FOB, fresh off the boat, and how he didn't know any English. When people asked him what's his name, he said, I don't know, and that turned out to be his name. Okay, so anyway, but you did fine, because then I think you adapted really easily, really fast, and you just wanted to remain a kid. And I think that's an advantage to you, I think. Well, we can talk about that later. But then you went on to Harvard, okay? And of course, we all know that's a prestigious school in the States. And you studied psychology. And you've written several books before you came out with Get Lucky, 祝你好运, this book here, which are very different from this one you have here.
Yeah,
and I guess, was it because, I want to, what I studied at Harvard, I want to make it into good use. So I'm going to write this book about Get Lucky. Is that how you came up with this book?
No, actually the real reason for writing this is because I realized that psychology can be applied across many, many, many things. And since I left academic psychology, I always thought that it would just be something in the background of my life. But then I realized a lot of my friends around me, actually, they lacked a lot of these, I guess what we call psychological common sense, that I just kind of took for granted. So I would be telling these stories to my friends, and they said it would help them a lot. Then later, I think really, over the past few years, we've seen that in Taiwanese society, that there's a lot of negativity and a lot of complaining.
Especially now.
Yeah.
In the last, 10 years.
Yeah, and it's almost getting to a point of having learned helplessness, when, especially for the younger generation, they think that, I don't have much hope, so let me just, tend to my little coffee shop or little garden or something. Not to say that that's not good, but when you fail to see all the different choices that actually life does provide for you, if you only have the tools to go and figure out your life. And so that's sort of what kind of gelled for me over the past few years, that I can really be useful in this way, that I can use a lot of the training that I had before, plus much of the development in the field of psychology over the past 15 years, especially in the field of positive psychology.
Really?
And there's a big gap. In the States, there's a lot of really great self-help books that are based on positive psychology, written by academics, but really meant for the lay reader, and everyone loves them, right? The bestsellers, but they get translated here, and they sound like textbooks. And so there's only a certain type of person that would read them, and these people are actually self-help people anyway. The people that really need to be helped, they can't really digest this information. So I felt like I'm in a position where I can try to make this stuff more fun, more easily accessible, and turn it hopefully into a how-to, especially for really busy people out there. Most people are like, they read a book and they're like, oh yeah, I want to change my life. But it requires, a 40-hour week, time commitment. No, you're not going to do that. So what I try to do is try to take all the research and boil it down to the most crucial elements, the stuff that I think would work, even if you just practice it 5 minutes a day. Right? And there are things like that out there. And so basically in this book, I came up with kind of like a program that you can take yourself through, step by step, and to try to create the external and the internal factors for a luckier life.
So, my feeling from this book is that luck doesn't only come to certain people. You're saying that everyone can be a lucky person. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and everyone can also be an unlucky person. See, that's the flip side of it. What I mean to say is that we can never predict what will happen to us from day to day. There are these things that, meteors fall out of the sky.
Yes.
And, there's, solar flares, all that, right? But what we can do is actually create the conditions for maximum inspiration, where we can get inspired to have lucky breaks, just like the story about Andy Hildebrand. How do we prepare our mind? How do we prepare our ourselves internally to have the right attitude so that we can see the opportunities. And here I cite a study by Professor Richard Wiseman. He's a professor of psychology in England who worked with BBC. And they did really scientific, laboratory studies of lucky and unlucky people. Mm-hmm. And they found that lucky people have 4 distinctive traits. In that one, they feel that they are going to get luckier, so they're more positive, right? They rely on intuition a lot, and their intuition is sharp. Right? They also, they can bounce back from setbacks.
Right.
Even if something is bad happens, they think, okay, there's a silver lining behind that cloud. Basically.
Right.
Yeah. And then
the fourth one.
And then the fourth one is that they can use little things that happen around them, these seemingly random events, and string them together to become opportunities.
Okay.
Right. So.
But you know what? I think that it's only those people who are born positive can do those 4 steps. Am I right? I mean, people.
But do you believe that there are some people who are born positive? Okay, granted.
Probably not. I probably don't mean that. But I meant there are people who are generally just positive. Mm-hmm. Even when bad things happen to them, they're positive. But you're trying to tell that to someone who's always negative, who's always looking for problems, who's thinking this is not going to work. Mm-hmm. That's me. It's hard. It's like you have to push yourself to okay, that wasn't a problem. You can change your mind about it and think of it positively.
Right.
Right?
Right. Well, the important thing to keep in mind is that positive mindset creates more positive mindset.
Yes.
It's a positive spiral. And negative mindset can create a negative spiral. But actually, it's just like a yin-yang. It's healthy to have a mixture of both.
Oh.
And so the thing is that just like my dad, when you said that he's a very positive person, no, he's not. He's actually always thinking about the worst thing that can happen in any situation. Yes.
How come he always gives the feeling that he's always very positive? He's always smiling. He always seems like hope is around the corner or something.
Sure. You know what? You can be very aware. You can be mindful of all the dangers out there, but be rational so you can evaluate the risks and then take the emotion out of it so that you don't get into that spiral. Take the things that are the greatest risk, prepare for them, right? And then when you're well prepared, then you can be as positive as you want to be. Uh-huh. And it's actually the positivity gives you the motivation and makes things go smoothly. And especially, in interacting with people. Mm-hmm. But actually having the slightly negative or being mindful of the dangers out there, actually, it sets the conditions where you can prepare properly for it. But a lot of people, they know the dangers that are out there, but they head towards the dangers anyway, and they don't prepare for it. So there's a self-defeating mistake. And then, when something happens, they're like, see, I knew it. And that creates the negative spiral. And then to the point where the next time even a mile away, they say, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not even going to try. I'll give it a shot because I'm sure you're not like that.
Oh, I am. See, I don't show that way, but I am, But one thing you said in the book that people thought that you are a very extroverted person, but actually you're introverted. And I'm surprised.
I'm totally an introvert.
I'm surprised about that. You don't think of yourself as still an introvert.
Well, I hide it pretty well. A lot of introverts hide it pretty well.
Okay.
And I think people think that introverts have to be, wallflowers, but not really. It's just a state of mind where you're more comfortable